Hi, I'm Micah Clark with the American Family Association. Appreciate you joining us today. Today I want to cover some bills in the legislature that we're watching. They're on my bill list. And I have to say, as you know, this is a short session, a non-budget year. They want to get out quickly because it's an election year for the May primary. Some of these guys and gals have primary opponents they're worried about, so they want to get out. This is typical of a short session. They're also concerned about controversial issues in an election year. They don't want to give their opponents fodder or the media fire to beat up on them. So I have to say I'm kind of disappointed with some of the bills that we're dealing with. We don't have a lot of issues to work on from a pro-family perspective this year. Of course, we have a couple important ones I've mentioned over and over again. But on my actual bill list, I've only got about 7 or 8 bills, and I want to cover those very quickly. But that doesn't mean things can't come up. You can have an amendment added to a bill that can change it dramatically, that can come with little to no notice on the floor. It always seems to happen a couple times. So we do have to watch what happens in the process, and I can always come back and point those out when something comes up. But for now, as far as the standalone bills before they get amended, I've got 6 or 7 I'd like to mention to you very quickly. Some of these we've talked about before. The first one is Senate Bill 17. And again, when I mention Senate bills are in the House. House bills are now in the Senate. Senate Bill 17 we've talked about almost every time because it's so important. It requires age verification of adult websites, meaning you have to have an age verification system in place to keep and protect minor children off of pornographic websites. That bill passed 44-1 in the Senate. Hope it will pass in the House. It's not had a hearing yet. We're expecting one next week, but that's Senate Bill 17. So please pray about that. Call your state representative about Senate Bill 17. Also, Senate Bill 128 is another important bill. This requires the school board to approve anything in sex education, and also, very importantly, to post whatever is approved on the school website. And nothing that's not approved by the elected school board cannot be brought into the school. So this is a way for parents to know what their children are being taught about on sex education. Senate Bill 128, another important bill on sex education. It's a transparency bill. You can call your state representative about that. We're hoping that comes up next week or the week after as well. Another bill, again, a Senate bill that is in the House. Senate Bill 202. This is kind of a complex bill. You can go look at it online, but it concerns, the best way I can put it is academic freedom, diversity of opinion, freedom of thought, and higher education in our colleges and universities. It passed 39-9 with some debate, not a huge amount in the Senate. The debate this week really exploded in the House. 3 hours of committee testimony. They're going to vote on it next week. But this bill would require colleges to have to respect diversity of opinion, respect students' free speech, to address some of the kind of the liberal things we're seeing with diversity, equity, inclusion, that type of thing. In fact, one legislator, a liberal Democrat who opposed the bill, actually said, well, you mean this would require teachers in political topics to be neutral? Well, honestly, my best teachers in college were neutral. I didn't know where they were politically. They taught both sides of an issue. I was a political science major. A lot of my history classes, I couldn't tell where my teachers were politically. And those were the ones I respected the best. I think that's the best for the student so they can see both sides. They're not pushed in one direction or another by a committee or by a professor. And so Senate Bill 202 might be one you want to look at, and we'll see what they do with that. Another bill I think I've mentioned before is Senate Bill 50. This bill would allow public schools, K-12 public schools, to hire a chaplain or allow a chaplain. Doesn't mean hire. They could allow a chaplain, a pastor, to be a chaplain in the school if the school wants. It does have parental permission that's required, parental consent. Not every school would take this up, but if a school wants to, they could. And I think this might be a good option for some schools if their local school board or administration decides they want a chaplain. So you can look at that bill also on the General Assembly website. That's Senate Bill 50. Let me mention one other Senate bill. And again, Senate bills are in the House. This is a Senate Bill 48 in the House. I think it passed unanimously, but it requires again, universities and colleges to post on their website data about college degrees and their marketability. For example, if a student wants a degree in architecture, it would have information about what that degree would cost and what the marketability of that, what the demand for those types of jobs would be projected in the future. This is information the U.S. Department of Education has on their website already. It simply requires Indiana University, Purdue University, whatever, to post it on their website. So parents can go look and say, well, my child's getting a degree in this. How many jobs are there out there? Is that a job field that's projected to grow or shrink over time? So it's a way for parents and students to see the economic viability of the job or the degree that they're wanting to pursue. That's Bill 48. The two House bills there in the Senate I want to mention, and this one will probably fly through. It passed unanimously, 2-0. Is House Bill 1047. It simply takes the code or the legality that we have in law regarding distribution of pornography, where it's not legal to do that, to distribute that to minors, or other ways pornography can be distributed. It adds to that existing law artificial intelligence, or artificially generated pornographic images to also apply to those things. So if somebody distributes pornography now, it's illegal. It's also illegal if that pornography happens to be created by a computer, is not actually a photograph of somebody. So it adds AI images into that existing section of law. Flew through the House 92-4. It should fly through the Senate as well. And it's just a minor change, but an important change, and that's 1047. 1137 is a bill I've mentioned before. It's the one I want to close with. This requires a school to allow a student to do release time for religious instruction. Right now, under Indiana law, a superintendent or a principal can allow a student to leave school for a small amount of time for religious instruction. They may do this. The law now says, the proposed bill in 1137 says they shall do this. I'm sorry, 1137, yes. That they shall do this. Several states are shall laws. We're a may law, meaning that the school must allow a student to do this if they request it. So it's a minor change. It passed 92-4, and I think should pass in the Senate, but we'll see. That is House Bill 1137. So those are the bills we're looking at right now, halfway through the session. Again, something could come up again, we don't know. But those are bills that were at least are on my list that I'm watching, that we're expecting to see hearings on very soon. And we'll see what the legislature does with this. But as always, we will try and be your eyes and ears in the State House. And we'll let you know if something else comes up, an important issue that affects faith, family, freedom, or your church, or your values. We will let you know, and that will come up. We'll make an alert of that on this video or through my weekly email on Wednesdays, which I hope you read as well. Well, I'm Micah Clark, Director of the American Family Association. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.